Greece may receive the next instalment of its €110 billion loan in July. Athens has promised to implement stricter austerity measures to stabilise its economy, a goal it's failed to reach so far. Well, for more on Greece's chances of recovery, I can now talk to Professor of Political Science, Pierre Galin. He's in Paris. Thank you very much indeed, Professor, for joining us here on RT. So tell us, what has Greece got to do to get itself out of trouble and prove it is able to pay off its debts?
Well, actually, I don't think it's only the problem of Greece, although Greece was not too honest about its budget, especially under the last government. It's mostly a European affair. And Europe and the IMF want Greece to tighten its belt more and more. So there's no way Greece by itself can get out of the crisis. Because if you tighten your belt more and more, you create a recession. And if you create a recession, the situation gets worse and worse, and it's harder and harder for you to pay back your debts. So it's not something that depends on the Greeks only.
Can I quickly ask you, why, by not throwing, or I should say by throwing money to this problem in Greece, would that not sort out the problem? Would a bailout not actually stimulate the economy and get it out of recession?
Well, the bailout means you lend money, and this money has to be paid back. And if you tighten your belt, it means you create a recession. You don't create the resources to pay back the loans. I think the banks are trying to, Europe and the IMF are trying to bail out the banks that lent the money to the Greeks rather than Greece itself. I don't see how this money can restart the economy if people spend less and less. It's total anti-Keynesianism. It's neoliberalism when what we need is a new form of Keynesianism. These ideas are not particularly original. This is what Paul Krugman, the Nobel Prize winner for economics, keeps writing in the New York Times. It's a dead end. And the only way to get out of this dead end is maybe to do what people in Iceland did. That is, they refused to pay back the banks. But unfortunately for the Greeks are within the euro, so they cannot devaluate their currency.
There is talk of Greece opting out of the euro and dropping the euro. Is that really likely to happen? We did get words from the Greek EU Commissioner saying such things, that they may well bail out of the euro. Is that likely?
Well, actually, it could be a political threat. It could be all rhetoric. But I think if the remedy suggested now goes on, there's a real danger that Greece will have to back out of the euro in order to be able to devalue its currency, to have more tourists, to sell more products and so on. So this is not a possibility now, because I think the big countries in Europe, mostly Germany and France, want to bail out not only the country, but they want to bail out the banks. And in order to bail out the country, they exhort it to sell all its assets. And the people buying the assets are in part the Germans, but also the Chinese. So they're encouraging Greece to sell itself to foreign powers to get out of a crisis. But then it would create another crisis, a neoliberal crisis, which can only be solved by, I think, Keynesian solutions.
Let me quickly ask you before we finish about Spain. Now, that's seen as in line for a bailout for EU aid. How damaging has this latest cucumber crisis triggered by Germany been for Spain? Could it actually push Spain over the edge and force it to ask for a bailout now?
Well, actually, it's very bad for Spanish agriculture, but I don't think the cucumber crisis by itself can push Spain one way or the other. But Spain is in a different category from Greece. It's like all the banks in America, it's too big to fail. And Europe cannot afford to see Spain collapse, stop paying back its debts. So it will have to be bailed out, and maybe in order to bail it out, restructure its debts. Europe will have to be far more careful with Spain, because it's a bigger chunk than Greece.
Just briefly, I do want to ask your reaction concerning the comments that many say this could be the end of the Eurozone in the long run. Do you think the Euro really is in trouble and we could see the collapse of the Eurozone?
Well, some economists are arguing precisely along these lines. And originally, when the Euro was created, the left in Europe was very much against it, because you had a strong economy, used a strong currency, the D-mark Germany, forming a monetary union with weaker economies. And that is a recipe for trouble. So We don't know yet whether the euro will weather the storm, but what is certain is that it's going to be very difficult because the European Union is not like the US. There's no solidarity, no common political system. So it is not something we can exclude. Yes, one or two countries could be left out of the euro. Some people even want to have a euro for Northern Europe, Germany and the Netherlands, basically, and all the other countries would have a different currency. So without strong economic integration and a strong political integration, the euro is in danger, as could be foreseen right from the start, I think.
Pierre Gallin, Professor of Political Science, joining us live there in Paris. Thanks very much indeed for your time.
You're welcome.